Hello friends, how are you? Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of Washington quarters, and what we're about to uncover could completely change the way you look at the coins sitting in your pocket, coin jar, or old collection. Some Washington quarters may look completely ordinary at first glance, but hidden details such as rare varieties, unusual mint errors, exceptional condition, and historical characteristics can make certain examples much more interesting to collectors. But here's the shocking part. The date and mint mark alone do not guarantee a fortune. So what separates an ordinary Washington quarter from a coin that collectors desperately want? Stay with me for this entire journey, because we're going to examine the history, designs, mint marks, condition, errors, and potential collector value of these fascinating American coins. And before you spend your next Washington quarter, you may want to look. First coin. Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving into a Washington quarter that can easily confuse new collectors. The 1967 Washington quarter with no mint mark. You may have heard claims that a 1967 quarter without a mint mark is automatically rare or worth thousands of dollars, but is that really true? And what should you look for if you have one in your collection? Stay with me until the end, because there is an important detail about the 1967 quarter that many people completely misunderstand, and it could make a big difference when you are checking your own coin. The first thing you need to know is that a 1967 Washington quarter without a mint mark is completely normal. In fact, 1967 quarters were intentionally produced without mint marks. During the coin shortage of the 1960s, the United States Mint temporarily stopped using mint marks on several circulating coins from 1965 through 1967. This means you should not assume that the missing D or S makes your 1967 quarter rare. And here is another major surprise. The regular 1967 Washington quarter is not a silver quarter. This is extremely important because many people see the 1967 date and immediately think 1960s Washington quarter equals silver. That is not correct. Regular US quarters switched from the old 90% silver composition to copper-nickel clad beginning in 1965. The 1967 quarter has a copper-nickel outer layer over copper core with a standard weight of about 5.67 grams. So if someone tells you that every 1967 Washington quarter is a 90% silver coin, be very careful. The famous 90% silver Washington quarters generally run through 1964, while regular 1967 quarters are clad. One quick way to examine your coin is to look carefully at the edge. A regular clad quarter can show a copper-colored line between the outer layers. Now let's talk about production. More than 1.5 billion 1967 Washington quarters were produced, which means the ordinary circulated example is not rare simply because it has the 1967 date. The large production figure is one reason collectors focus much more heavily on condition, strike quality, varieties, and genuine minting errors when evaluating these coins. But here is where this coin becomes much more interesting. Imagine you find a 1967 quarter that has been sitting untouched for decades. The surfaces are bright, the original details are sharp, Washington's hair is well defined, and the eagle on the reverse still has impressive detail. Suddenly, you are no longer looking at an ordinary worn quarter. You may have a coin that collectors would want to examine more closely. Condition can make a huge difference. A heavily circulated 1967 quarter may have little collectible premium, while exceptionally preserved examples can bring significantly more. Some published price guides show ordinary examples around face value, while high-grade certified pieces can reach substantially higher prices, and documented auction results for exceptional examples have gone much higher. But these figures are not guarantees. Coin value depends on the exact grade, eye appeal, certification, variety, and market demand. This is why you should never look at a coin and immediately say, "This is worth thousands of dollars." The correct question is, what exactly makes this particular coin different? Start by checking the surfaces. Look for unusual doubling, missing details, unusual lettering, striking problems, clips, off-center strikes, or other characteristics that may indicate a genuine mint error. But remember, damage that happens after the coin leaves the mint is not automatically a valuable error. For example, scratches, dents, discoloration, chemical damage, or someone intentionally altering the coin can make it look unusual without making it rare. This is one of the biggest mistakes new collectors make. And please, if you discover an old 1967 quarter that looks dirty or dark, do not clean it. Scrubbing, polishing, chemicals, or abrasive materials can permanently damage the original surface and potentially reduce collector interest. An old coin with natural tunning and an original surface can be much more desirable than a coin that has been aggressively cleaned. There is also another fascinating category connected with 1967, special mint set or SMS coins. These pieces were made with special striking methods for collectors and can look significantly sharper and more attractive than ordinary circulation strikes. Some high-grade 1967 examples, especially special strikes, can command substantial premiums. So when you check your 1967 Washington quarter, don't just look for a missing mint mark. The missing mint mark is normal for this year. Instead, examine the entire coin, look at the date, look at Washington's portrait, study the lettering, check the reverse eagle, examine the rim, look carefully at the edge, and most importantly, inspect the overall condition and search for legitimate mint-made characteristics. If your coin is heavily worn, scratched, or damaged, it may not have much collector premium. But if you have an exceptionally preserved example or a genuine and desirable mint error, that is when things can become much more interesting. And remember, never trust a viral value claim without verification. A coin being described online as rare or worth millions does not automatically make it so. Professional grading, auction records, and comparison with recognized varieties can help determine whether a coin truly deserves a premium. So is your 1967 Washington quarter with no mint mark worth money? The honest answer is, possibly, but not simply because it has no mint mark. The no mint mark feature is normal for 1967. The real opportunity is finding an unusually high-grade coin, a recognized variety, or a genuine mint error. That's where collectors start paying much closer attention. So before you spend that old quarter, take a second look. You might have an ordinary coin, or you might have an interesting collector piece hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because we are hunting through America's coins to discover the dates, varieties, errors, and condition details that collectors actually care about. And remember, don't clean it, don't assume the value, and don't spend it before you check it carefully. This is Change Your Life, and I'll see you in the next rare coin hunt. Second coin, welcome back to Change Your Life. Today we're diving into another Washington quarter that could be hiding in an old collection, a coin jar, or even your pocket change. The 1973 Washington quarter with no mint mark. But before you get excited, there is something extremely important you need to know. Is a 1973 Washington quarter without a mint mark actually rare? Is it made of silver? Could it really be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? And what should you look for before you spend it? Stay with me until the end, because the real story behind this coin is much more interesting than simply seeing the words, no mint mark. Let's start with the biggest misconception. A normal 1973 Washington quarter without a mint mark is not a 90% silver quarter. By 1973, the United States Mint had already moved regular Washington quarters away from the traditional 90% silver composition used before 1965. The standard 1973 quarter is a copper-nickel-clad coin, not an old 90% silver circulation quarter. So if someone tells you, I found a 1973 quarter without a mint mark, and because it is from the 1970s it must be silver, don't accept that claim without checking the coin carefully. Now comes the question everyone wants answered. Why doesn't the 1973 quarter have a mint mark? The answer is simple. The Philadelphia Mint traditionally did not place a mint mark on its circulating coins. During this period, quarters struck at Philadelphia could therefore appear without a mint mark. In other words, seeing no D or S on a 1973 quarter does not automatically mean you have an error. This is one of the most important lessons for new collectors. A missing mint mark is not always a minting mistake. If you turn the coin over and examine the reverse, you will see the familiar American eagle design. On the front is George Washington, whose portrait has appeared on the quarter since 1932. The coin's design itself is part of what makes Washington quarters such an important part of American numismatic history. But now let's talk about what could make a 1973 no mint mark quarter more interesting. The first thing is condition. Imagine two 1973 quarters sitting next to each other. One has been circulating for decades. It has scratches, worn details, dark spots, rim damage, and flattened high points. The other has sharp details, original surfaces, strong luster, and very little evidence of circulation. They may have the same date, but collectors can view them very differently. That is why you should never assume that every coin with the same date has the same value. High-grade coins can attract collectors because truly exceptional examples are much harder to find than ordinary circulated pieces. Professional grading can also help establish the condition of a coin and make comparisons with auction records easier. But condition isn't the only thing you should check. You should also look for genuine mint errors and unusual varieties. Examine the date closely. Look at the lettering. Check Washington's portrait. Study the reverse eagle and surrounding lettering. Look at the rim and edge. You're searching for something that appears to have happened during the manufacturing process, not damage that occurred after the coin entered circulation. For example, a coin can become scratched when it is dropped, hit, stored improperly, or mixed with other objects. It can become discolored through environmental exposure. Someone can even intentionally alter a coin. These things may make a quarter look unusual, but unusual does not automatically mean valuable. A genuine mint error is different because it originates during the striking or manufacturing process. This is why collectors need to be careful with dramatic claims, such as 1973 quarter worth $10,000 or 1973 no mint mark quarter worth millions. A viral video or social media post does not establish a coin's actual market value. The value of a particular coin depends on factors such as authenticity, grade, preservation, rarity, variety, error status, and collector demand. And here's an important warning: never clean your coin. If your 1973 quarter looks dirty, brown, dark, dull, or discolored, don't grab a chemical cleaner or polishing cloth. Cleaning can leave scratches or remove the original surface. In many cases, collectors would rather see an original, naturally aged coin than one that has been aggressively polished. Instead, hold the coin carefully by its edges and examine it under good lighting. If you believe you've discovered something unusual, consider having the coin examined by a reputable numismatist or professional grading service rather than immediately selling it based on an online claim. Now let's return to the big question. Is a 1973 Washington quarter without a mint mark automatically rare? No. The absence of a mint mark by itself does not make the coin rare. A normal Philadelphia minted 1973 quarter can legitimately have no mint mark, but that doesn't mean you should ignore your coin. A 1973 quarter in exceptional condition, a legitimate variety, or a verified mint error can be much more interesting to collectors than a normal circulated example. That's the difference between date value and collector value. The date gets your attention, but the coin's actual characteristics determine whether collectors should pay attention. So if you find a 1973 Washington quarter without a mint mark, don't immediately throw it into a coin jar, and don't immediately believe that you've discovered a fortune either. Take a closer look, check the condition, study the details, inspect the edge, look for genuine mint-made abnormalities. And most importantly, verify what you have before making a value claim. Because sometimes the most exciting part of coin collecting isn't finding a coin that is automatically worth thousands of dollars. It's discovering something unusual that other people overlooked. So, do you have a 1973 Washington quarter without a mint mark? Take it out, place it under good light, and inspect it carefully. You may have an ordinary quarter, but if you discover an authentic error or an exceptionally preserved example, you may have a coin worth researching much more closely. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more fascinating American coin discoveries. And remember, don't clean your old coins, don't trust exaggerated value claims, and always check the details before you spend. Tired Coin, welcome back to Change Your Life. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of American coins, and our spotlight is on the 1984 Washington quarter. You may have one sitting inside an old coin jar, collection, drawer, or even loose change. But here's the question: could your 1984 quarter be worth more than its face value? Before we begin, there's one important fact to clear up. A normal 1984 Washington quarter is not a silver quarter. By 1984, regular Washington quarters were made from copper-nickel clad composition, not the traditional 90% silver composition used on quarters dated 1964 and earlier. So don't assume that a 1984 quarter is silver simply because it is an older-looking coin. Now look closely at the coin. On the obverse you have the famous portrait of George Washington, while the reverse features the American eagle. And underneath Washington's neck area, you can find the small d mint mark, identifying the coin as being struck at the Denver Mint. But here's where coin collecting gets exciting. The date and mint mark alone do not automatically make this quarter rare. Millions of ordinary quarters were produced, and many survived in circulation. However, collectors don't only search for rare dates. They also look for exceptional condition, strong strikes, varieties, and genuine mint errors. Imagine finding a 1984 quarter that has spent decades in circulation. It might have scratches, dull surfaces, worn lettering, and flattened details. Now compare that with another 1984 quarter that has sharp design details, strong original luster, and almost no signs of circulation. Same date, same mint mark, completely different collector appeal. That's why condition matters so much. If your 1984 quarter looks unusually bright or well preserved, don't immediately polish it. In fact, this is extremely important. Never clean a collectible coin. Scrubbing, rubbing, chemicals, or polishing can permanently damage the original surface and reduce its desirability to collectors. Instead, hold the quarter carefully by its edges and examine it under good lighting. Start with the date 1984. Look closely at each digit. Then examine the D mint mark. Check the lettering around the coin. Study Washington's portrait, especially the hair and the high points of the design. Then turn the coin over. Look carefully at the eagle, the lettering, the stars, and the rim. You're searching for characteristics that may have been created during the minting process, and this is where you need to understand the difference between a mint error and post-mint damage. a genuine mint error happens during the manufacturing process. Damage can happen after the coin leaves the mint. A deep scratch isn't automatically a rare error. A dent isn't automatically valuable. A strange color isn't automatically proof of a special coin. And a damaged mint mark isn't automatically a rare variety. This distinction can save collectors from making expensive mistakes. Now, let's talk about something that makes coin videos go viral: huge value claims. You may see headlines saying things like 1984 D quarter worth thousands. Or check your change, you could be rich. These headlines can certainly grab attention, but you should always verify the actual coin before believing the number. A coin's market value can depend on its grade, authenticity, eye appeal, variety, error status, and collector demand. Two coins with the exact same date and mint mark can sell for dramatically different amounts because their condition and characteristics are different. So if you have a 1984 D quarter, don't ask only, "What year is it?" Ask a better question: "What makes my particular coin different?" Maybe it has an unusually strong strike. Maybe it has exceptional preservation. Maybe you notice something unusual around the lettering. Maybe there is a legitimate minting error that deserves professional examination. Those are the clues that can turn an ordinary coin search into an exciting discovery. Another important point is that a normal 1984 D quarter should not be valued like a classic silver Washington quarter. If you are specifically looking for 90% silver Washington quarters, the key dates are generally from the earlier era, before the composition change in the mid-1960s. So if someone tells you your 1984 D quarter is automatically a silver coin worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, be extremely cautious. But don't throw it away either. The real fun of collecting is that you never know what condition a coin has been preserved in until you actually inspect it. A quarter that looks ordinary at first can become much more interesting when you examine it under magnification. Look for sharp details. Look for original surfaces. Look for unusual striking characteristics. Look for legitimate varieties. And if you believe you've discovered a significant error, have it examined by a reputable coin dealer, numismatist, or professional grading service. Don't clean it, don't scratch it, don't try to improve its appearance yourself, and don't sell it based only on a viral social media claim. Now let's answer the big question one more time. Is the 1984 D Washington quarter rare? The normal 1984 D quarter is not automatically rare simply because it carries the Denver D mint mark. But a particularly high-grade example, an authentic variety, or a verified mint error can attract additional collector interest. That's the real secret of coin collecting. The date gets your attention, the mint mark tells part of the story, but the condition, variety, error status, and demand help determine the real collector value. So tonight, go check your coin jar, look through those old quarters. And if you find a 1984 D Washington quarter, don't immediately spend it, turn it over, inspect both sides, check the edge, use good lighting. Look for anything genuinely unusual. Because the most exciting discoveries aren't always the coins that look spectacular from the beginning. Sometimes they're the ordinary-looking coins that contain one small detail everyone else missed. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more rare coin stories, valuable varieties, and fascinating American coin discoveries. And remember, never clean your old coins, never trust exaggerated value claims, and always inspect the details before you spend them. This is Change Your Life, and I'll see you in the next rare coin hunt. Fourth and final coin, welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving into another fascinating American coin that could be hiding in an old collection, coin jar, or even your pocket change, the 1987 P Washington quarter. But before you decide that this coin is a rare silver treasure, there's something very important you need to know. Is the 1987 P Washington quarter actually silver? Does the P mint mark make it rare? And what should you look for if you have one? Stay with me until the end, because one small detail can completely change how collectors look at a coin. Magnifying glass tilted right first, let's clear up the biggest misconception. The normal 1987 P Washington quarter is not a 90% silver circulation quarter. By 1987, regular Washington quarters were being struck in copper-nickel clad composition. The classic 90% silver Washington quarters are from the earlier era, generally dated 1964 and earlier, so if you have a 1987 P quarter, don't assume that its age or appearance means it is silver. Now let's talk about the P mint mark. That small letter P identifies the Philadelphia Mint. For a normal 1987 P Washington quarter, the presence of the P mint mark is completely normal. It does not automatically make the coin rare or valuable, and this is where many new collectors make a mistake. They see an older coin, notice a mint mark, search online, and find an enormous price attached to a completely different coin, perhaps an extremely high-grade example or a rare error. Then they assume their ordinary circulated quarter must have the same value, but coin collecting doesn't work that way. The date and mint mark are only the beginning. What really matters is the condition: strike quality, varieties, genuine mint errors, and collector demand. Imagine you have two 1987p quarters. The first one has been circulating for decades. It has scratches, worn details, dull surfaces, and damage around the rim. The second one is remarkably well preserved. Washington's portrait is sharp, the lettering is crisp, the reverse details are strong, and the coin still shows attractive original luster. Both coins say 1987p, but collectors may view them very differently. That's why condition is one of the most important things to examine. When checking your coin, start with Washington's portrait. Look carefully at the hair, cheek, and other high points. Then inspect the date and the P mint mark. Look for unusual doubling or other characteristics, but don't mistake ordinary wear or damage for a rare variety. Next, turn the coin over, study the eagle, check the lettering. Look at the stars, examine the rim, and inspect the entire surface for something that may indicate a genuine minting error. A real mint error is created during the manufacturing process. Damage that occurs after the coin leaves the mint is a different story. A scratch isn't automatically a rare error. A dent isn't automatically valuable. A strange stain isn't automatically a special variety. And a damaged mint mark isn't necessarily a mint error. This distinction is incredibly important if you're searching for valuable coins. Now let's talk about one of the biggest traps in online coin collecting: exaggerated value claims. You may see a video or post saying, 1987p Washington quarter worth $5,000. Or even this quarter could make you rich. These headlines are designed to grab attention, but the actual value of a particular coin depends on its exact characteristics. Professional grade, preservation, authenticity, recognized varieties, errors, and collector demand can all affect what someone is willing to pay. So don't ask only, how much is a 1987p quarter worth? Ask, what is special about my 1987p quarter? That is a much better question. Maybe your coin is heavily worn and is worth little more than its face value. Maybe it is unusually well preserved. Maybe it has a legitimate mint error. Maybe it has a recognized variety that requires further research. Those possibilities are why careful examination matters. And here's another very important warning for every collector watching this video: never clean your coin. If your 1987p quarter is dark, dirty, brown, discolored, or covered with what looks like grime, don't use polish, chemicals, toothpaste, or abrasive materials. Cleaning can scratch the surface and permanently change the coin's original appearance. Instead, handle the coin by the edges and use good lighting. If something genuinely unusual catches your eye, consider showing it to a reputable coin dealer, experienced numismatist, or professional grading service. And remember, don't let a giant price tag on the internet convince you that your coin is automatically worth that amount. Actual market value can be very different from an online asking price. Now, let's return to our 1987p Washington quarter. Is it automatically a rare silver coin? No. Is the P mint mark automatically rare? No. Can a 1987p quarter still be interesting to collectors? Absolutely. A coin can become much more interesting because of exceptional condition, a legitimate mint error, or a recognized variety. And that's what makes coin hunting so exciting. You don't need every coin to be rare. You just need to know what to look for. So if you have a 1987p Washington quarter, take it out of your collection tonight. Look at both sides. Check the date, find the P mint mark, inspect the lettering, study Washington's portrait, examine the eagle, check the rim and edge, and look for anything that appears genuinely different from a normal example. If you think you've discovered something unusual, don't clean it and don't damage it trying to investigate. Get a second opinion from someone experienced in US coins. Because sometimes the difference between an ordinary quarter and a collectible quarter isn't the year printed on it. It's one tiny detail, one unusual strike, one legitimate error, one exceptional condition. And that tiny detail could be the reason collectors take a much closer look. Face screaming in fear, so before you spend your old quarters, check them carefully. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more American coin discoveries, rare varieties, mint errors, and fascinating coin history. And remember, don't clean your coins, don't trust exaggerated value claims, and always check the details before you spend them. This is Change Your Life, and I'll see you in the next rare coin hunt. Money bag.